What is up, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today we're doing a brand new episode of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. In this episode, what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be continuing to develop Vietnam. In the last episode, we did see a significant drop in our number of domestic visitors. We actually went down to negative 8 million for some reason. So it took me a minute to actually kind of realize that we did just go through a hurricane, so we should be able to see our tourist numbers correct themselves by the end of the month, I would assume. We're going to be kind of watching the situation closely, that way we're not losing money in terms of tourism. We need to really kind of rebound here. We have a lot of openings whenever it comes to I think I just heard a volcano, actually. I think the Philippines is... Yep, the Philippines, for some reason, is going through a volcanic eruption. It's probably Pinatubo, if anything. Let me look. Nope, it is not Pinatubo. Anyway, that'd actually be a really cool feature if, like, Pinatubo erupted, and then whenever, like, the ash comes over to Vietnam, it kind of affects the tourism revenue that we're getting because, you know, of canceled flights, everything like that. So that'd be actually a really good feature. I don't know how they would implement it, but I would be very exciting to see. Let's go ahead and continue on here. So we have a lot of room to grow whenever it comes to GDP. We need to go over to civil servants. We need to start doing a much bigger technological transition of the public sector. Administrations, who do we want to kind of focus on here? Other administrations, I think we're going to be focusing on getting the government to switched over to robots and AI. And as well, we're going to focus on other administrations. We're going to focus on the government first, and then we're going to focus on probably Homeland Security would be another one. But let's go ahead and do 1,500 robots in the public sector, and as well, let's do 5,000 AI bots. That is going to cost us $20 million in severance costs over 3 years, $55 million to invest, but then it's going to save us $34 million over the next couple of years. So let's go ahead and send that through. And that is going to have us an objective of 11,500. So pretty exciting to see the technological sector start to develop in Vietnam. I actually also did ask Eversim about the famine issue in the game. We actually do see that there is currently a bug in the game whenever it comes to this. This should not be working the way it is. I haven't seen any public fixes yet on it, but I still have yet to hear from Pericles about this. So hopefully I don't have to restart this. I mean, like, I kind of had to end the Australia series. Australia kind of got ended because I just was not able to focus on it. I'm able to focus on Vietnam now, but it's just more so the bugs that I'm running into in the meantime. I think in the next series, if I have to abandon Vietnam, we're probably going to go for the United States. Haven't done a US series, I think, since 2021, since Biden got elected. So new kind of sticking to tradition. We could see a US series where I, execute Trump's plan for mass deportation and kind of starting a war with Venezuela, mayhaps. So we're gonna see exactly what happens if the Vietnam series kind of falls apart here. And speaking of tourism, the World Tourist Organization has released its quarterly seasonal figures, and Ho Chi Minh City has entered the ranks of the top 50 most visited cities in the world. That is remarkable, and we have gone up in the rankings of most visited cities, and that is good for our tourism. So let's check on our tourism one more time. Still at negative 8 million. Just 8 million people are literally leaving the country. And apparently Russia, what is that? 1,000, 30,000, 200,000, 2 million, 10 million, 4 what? 4 billion people are visiting Russia every year. Hang on, 4 Yeah, that's 4 billion. Oh yeah, that is screwed. Oh, wow. All right, I guess the war ended, and then apparently everyone is going to Russia now, so interesting. Interesting. This is going to be very odd series now. Maybe it'll correct itself on its own, but terrible result.
Artistic choices.
Oh, damn it. Malnutrition problem. We're going to break on malnutrition. Something must be done if we don't want people to die of hunger. Yeah, I've been doing that. I mean, it's pretty early in the year, so we can actually... all activities. So we're going to have to increase our spending for this. Let's do 300 million people. $300 million. We're gonna have to increase taxes. Hopefully that is kind of like an immediate impact. Let's see, 10.9. I like how that went up, like when I gave that money. And we have some protests that are breaking out across the country. So we have a demonstration against increasing famine. So people are just outraged by the government inaction whenever it comes to the famine, even though it's not our fault. Undernourished population is actually... I gave subsidies out, and apparently they just want to keep starving, even though we have a positive surplus in terms of food. Which it kind of sucks because, I mean, I'm gonna be totally honest. I mean, people always rip this game for like bugs and everything like that. I'm gonna be totally honest. This is actually one of the first bugs that I have ran into in this game, in which like it is actively making my life a living hell trying to play this game. So I mean, it's there. I mean, I would say it's still, I mean, the game is still great. It's still one of a kind. So it sucks that it's, you know, doing this. And I mean, I want to see if there is a way to kind of get around it. Looks like the exhibitions, the tourist attractions that I'm trying to make are having a horrible time. So both people are going hungry and also are like $1 billion that we're like spending on these cultural events are not panning out the way we want them to. But the funding is actually pretty low, $500 million for the what is this? The Independent Film Festival and then the International Exhibition. Give it like 2 or 3 years and then we're actually going to be able to have those at 5 stars. Undernourished population is just really trying to like make my life like really hard right now. Let's check over here. Nomination of the head of states, personal fortune. We should have investments. I think I already threw some money into, yeah, NVIDIA. Okay. So that is going to go up whenever the February comes around. So oversized purchase contract with India for cereals. Quantities delivered excessive given the quantities currently consumed in our country. In the end, it will cost us, and we can no longer stock this surplus. We should renegotiate or terminate this contract with India. So, people are starving, but we literally have, like, there is literal corruption going on right now. Like, there is something going on to where Vietnam is overstocked on cereals, but we have a 11.4% undernourished population. So interesting to say the least. We are also spending 3 stars on assistance for converting to organic farming, and we are dropping in terms of organic farming. So, I mean, the agricultural sector is completely not working anymore. So we're going to try to just kind of work with it throughout the series. We are focusing on other things other than agriculture. So I think just even if we're getting thrown out of office, I'm going to go maybe a couple more episodes. If it continues to be a hassle, especially after this year, I'll probably just go ahead and call the series. And then move on to a different series, which sucks. But once the food bug is fixed, maybe I'll do just like a redo of the Vietnam series. Just that way, like, you know, it actually has a fair development cycle. But hopefully it gets fixed during this series. And I actually, while I'm recording this, I actually did ask Pericles if they are working on it. So hopefully they are, and then we'll kind of go from there. $213 million from 325,000. Let's do a personal property. Head of state, build property. He has available cash 300,000. 1.2 million. We need like 1.2 million in order to cover that. Losses. Yeah, see, that's the other thing. For some reason, it has to do, I guess it's not even, I mean, obviously it's a bug, but more so, it's for some reason the entire agricultural industry stopped producing. I mean, we had a company, Pioneer Agriculture. Look at this, negative 2,500 net results. They're worth $1,000 in market value with a consolidated revenue of $7 million. They totally collapsed. So I feel like the economic just collapse that the agricultural industry is suffering in Vietnam has to do for some reason with the cereals industry. Just for some reason, just the entire industry just collapsed. I mean, what, $113 billion in GDP here, and it's collapsed by 13 billion. GDP agricultural sector active population is up, but our exports are down, and imports are somewhat down, but our trade balance is down as well. But for some reason, people are just like ignoring food as it comes to them. So it doesn't make any sense. And I don't even think God and Spy can even help me with that. And it looks like we actually stopped the issue a little bit. So 1 million people were victims of the malnutrition last year, but that's actually down from, I would say, 100,000. A human catastrophe. So we actually have the last message that we got. This was in November. 129,000 to... I think what we're going to do real quick is that we are going to go... We are in the middle of February, toward the end of February, actually. We're going to go to the United Nations. We're going to go to the IMF. We're going to ask the IMF for a loan. The purpose of the International Monetary Fund is to foster global monetary cooperation, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade, promote high employment and sustainable economic growth, and reduce poverty. More specifically, it can give development loans to help in reconstruction of countries in the event of natural catastrophe. Once passed, the funding is immediately paid out to the countries to include international revenue, which will automatically reduce their budgetary deficit. The loan itself will begin to be paid back once, which will simultaneously increase the debt service and thus the budgetary deficit, but to a lesser degree. At the beginning of the year, the country will no longer receive these additional funds, and the country will experience a sudden change in their budgetary deficit. In the meantime, the country will be able to use these additional funds for funding new popular measures, for example. Let's think about this carefully. I need enough money to where I can just throw it at the subsidies that we're giving the agricultural sector so we can, at least for a couple of months, pay down the malnutrition rate. We're going to try to fight this with money. So let's go ahead and ask for a $12.5 billion loan from the IMF, and then we're going to see how they accept that. If I can get enough money from them to where I can at least throw that at the agricultural sector, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go to the WB, and wow, they actually did already extend credit to us. Let's go ahead and ask that the World Bank reduce our funds here. So we're going to ask that we need to get rid of $8.5 billion. The World Bank is an international organization aimed at fighting poverty. It can accord debt relief to countries that have contracted debt from it. Let's go ahead and ask for a reduction in $8.5 billion worth of our debt, and then hopefully they will accept that. Improvement in the poor people's...
But even with this slight improvement, we must not...
From the panacea, I know. All right, so budget excess 0.9. And maybe we could ask the WB for another loan if they don't reduce that to to us. Loan granted from the IMF. Mr. President, after an evaluation of your file, the IMF Board of Directors has decided to grant you the loan you asked for. The IMF has set the interest rate at 1% per year for tiered reimbursement within 3 years. It is obvious that the fund will follow with great attention your monetary budget and financial policies. And we see country at risk, good job, and country at risk. And country at risk. Which one is this? This is growth rates. What's our credit rating, actually? International Monetary's loan paid. Let's transfer the loan to our central bank. This will considerably improve our budget and hopefully give us the ability to undertake a more audacious economic policy. Yeah, we need to just throw that into the ring of undernourished population. Let's go ahead and ask that we give $500 million to the industries. And yep, that puts us right back where we were before, just a little bit of a difference. 11.4. Reduction of debt is accepted by the WB. Mr. President, in light of efforts that your country has made in terms of social, health, and educational development, the World Bank has decided to support you and reply favorably to your request. Your debt within the World Bank will thus be relieved by the amount you have proposed by $8.499 billion. This relief will be spaced out across the remaining duration of your reimbursement. All of this is obviously subject to the condition that your development policy and democracy continues in Vietnam. Yeah, sorry, we're not doing that. But let's go ahead and check on our debt situation now with the WB and IMF. So we did simultaneously lower our WB loan while also borrowing a ton of money from the IMF. We may actually, at the end of the year, ask the WB or the IMF for another loan. I'm going to say we could try for an additional $12.5 billion. I would say we may have to borrow up to $25 to $50 billion from the IMF over the next, I would say, 3 years. I think realistically we could probably be looking at $35 to $40 billion. I would say 12.5 every year. So as soon as the first one kind of like runs out, we borrow it again, and then we kind of just run off of credit coming from the IMF. So let's go ahead and continue on. So our budget deficit does actually disappear mainly because of the reduction in the debt that the World Bank was giving us. So as we let's go ahead and focus that a little bit into things like education, because so long as they see that we are using that money to develop ourselves educationally, for example, we could be able to turn that around and use that to say, hey, give us this credit because we are doing strides whenever it comes to education. Let's go ahead and do building. Let's go over here. Let's do 4 additional universities, distribute that over the country, and then let's go back to farming. Undernourished population is still having a hard time here. So, I mean, do we need to get money into the hands of people? I mean, could that be the reason why we're having such a hard time here? Illegal employment. Illegal employment, I mean, we need to be able to get that down, because that's another reason why we're still probably having, I wouldn't even say that has anything to do with the food industry. Our infrastructures are still underway, so I would say by next year and a half from now, all of that should be completed. 420 days. We have an oil terminal outside of Da Nang. Only 400,000 people in Da Nang. We should actually focus on trying to get a population center around here. All right, and the next thing we're going to be doing in this episode, I guess another thing we're going to try, we're going to go ahead and extend exemptions to most farming industries in the country. We're going to try this as kind of like a last-ditch effort to see if this is kind of something that maybe we could fix on our own. So I'm going to kind of skip ahead. And then by the time we're done, we're going to see how many extensions of of exonerations we can hand off to the agricultural sector. I'm expecting we're probably going to be losing about $1 billion or more in revenue, especially because look at beef. I mean, we're already losing $145 million to exoneration. So I think we're actually going to hand them off only to domestic companies. We're going to do all companies. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So I'll see you guys on the other side. All right. And then so we just increased our deficit to 0.72% of GDP. So we actually handed off way more money than I expected. I think next thing that we're going to try in some of the sectors, we did do this with the meat sector to where it wasn't meat, it was the rice sector. So we actually reduced the price of rice in the country. This is supposed to be one way that we're going to be able to help the population. So I think one other way we're going to have to try to alleviate the situation is that we have to start reducing prices. People need access to food, so if we can start reducing things like cereals prices or exoneration is another way to do it. This is more specifically to help sectors experiencing financial difficulties. It's kind of a long shot, but it's like I said, we're still trying to figure this out. So hopefully this works, and we actually handed off, I would say, about $2 to $3 billion in subsidies. Not even subsidies, in exoneration. So we're basically losing money in tax revenue all across the agricultural sector. So we need to see if we can at least get the sector to rebound. So we did beef, cereals, aquaculture, the fishing sectors, food industry, the fowl industry, all of the fruits. We did maize, we did potatoes. We kind of skipped a couple of them, like rice, sheep, and sugar. These aren't necessarily big sectors, number one. Well, I mean, sheep, let's go ahead and just hand them a subsidy. They're not that big. But things like rice, like pork, they were extremely expensive. Like, for example, if I go to rice, for example, $3 billion is how much it would cost the country in order to hand them an exoneration, so that way we're not taxing the industry. That's actually the idea that we have, is that if we're not taxing them, they're not going to be sustaining financial difficulty, and they'll be able to just focus on pure raw production. Russian criminal cyber attack on our country. We withstood the attack. Okay, good. Apparently the Russians just hit us. Why? We're like really good relations. I don't understand why. We may start to move troops into the southern part of Laos. We basically to have some type of like response force against Cambodia or Thailand in case they try to do anything funny. I think as of the recording of this video, the conflict in Cambodia and Thailand kind of finally ended.
Time to open your eyes. The people hold you responsible for the suffering and rumors of coup d'etat and of assassinations have always been. Yes, I want you.
We kind of progressed a little bit in this episode, so I guess we're just going to go ahead and end it here. Go ahead and give me your country suggestions down in the comments below. I think just until this malnutrition bug is fixed, it's not going to be consistent enough to where I'm going to be able to continue as Vietnam. Once I get word that the malnutrition bug is fixed, I will return to the Vietnam series, and I think we're just going to restart it and start anew. Just that way we're able to carry on the legacy that we were supposed to be doing. So only a couple of episodes in this series, but leave me your suggestions down in the comments below. Let's kind of like look at who we may be able to play as. I have my own personal game going on as Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, if you guys want to see maybe a Saudi Arabia series, that'd be really good. My idea for Saudi Arabia is, at least in my own personal game right now, modernizing them and moving them away from oil. Kind of like what they're doing right now, where they're investing in a lot of countries and platforms like YouTube, for example. kind of moving them toward like a technology service-based industry rather than like a rather than some type of like oil-based industry, kind of diversifying their electrical needs. Maybe South Africa. South Africa could be a good idea. Maybe focusing on tourism. I'm thinking Argentina, focusing on tourism, improving the economy. Maybe a Javier Milei kind of playthrough. Already did Australia. I would say maybe a China series where we focus, this would be more militaristic, focusing on a preparation for an invasion of Taiwan. If you guys want to see some type of military gameplay, then we could do a China series. Maybe North Korea, isolationist, Japan, focusing on tourism and building up the military in preparation for a potential conflict in Taiwan. We could do some type of series where we play as a very small country to where I don't have to worry about malnutrition. So I'm thinking maybe Georgia, Azerbaijan. We could do Greece. Greece could be a good idea. The United Kingdom. If you guys want to see like first world type of country, I'm thinking United States or UK. UK, we could focus on military and as well as fixing the shattered British economy. We could do the United States. The United States would be unique because we would be focusing on the deportation programs. We would be focusing on, I would actually consider some type of like moving toward authoritarianism as the United States in the series. As the good old John Cooper would say, you know, the rich $4.6 billion John Cooper would say. Maybe a Mexico series. Maybe we could revisit Mexico. Venezuela, preparation for an invasion from the United States, which actually does happen in the game. Like I said, I'm thinking United States. I'm thinking Saudi Arabia, or I am thinking China. Maybe I'm thinking, yeah, United States, Saudi Arabia, or China. Which one of these you guys want to see? And let me know other suggestions down in the comments below, and maybe I'll pick the most interesting one. But yeah, guys, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss anything whenever I do make it. And I will see you guys in the next series. Thank you guys so much for watching this with me, and take care.